Kevin Feige is busy, and he wants you to know about it. He was spreading his information across the trades on Friday, and we're gonna break it down. Yes, as Hollywood shuts down for Thanksgiving, expect it to be a pretty slow news week, although never say never. And by the way, don't worry, Hollywood will roar back to life the very next weekend with Brazil Comic-Con, which has become quite the place. Expect a big Warner Brothers panel, a big Warner Media panel they've announced on December 6th, and then Sony's Spider-Man is expected to present as well. And that's just what we know about. The schedule isn't out just yet. But anyway, Marvel, as I said, did a huge info dump on Friday, flexing its muscles as it gets ready to return after being forced to sit out 2020 thanks to the pandemic. So again, let's break it down. The day started with an exclusive to Deadline, with Deadpool 3 finally seeing some movement as Disney started to finally mobilize its Fox brands. And Disney does nothing by accident. They only mobilize what they can use across their vast empire. And I was the first to report to you back in August that Disney Plus will be adding an adult section, now expected to be announced December 10th. I told you, things are going to pick back up. And so suddenly, Deadpool, Predator, and hopefully Alien are once more valuable to the mouse. Oh boy! Another constant over at Disney is that Feige likes to have control over his own empire. And so what do you know? Suddenly, Zombieland 1 and 2 writers Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who wrote Deadpool 1 and 2 quite successfully, are out in favor of Bob's Burgers writers, the Molyneux sisters. Who? Well, the Molyneux sisters are actually deeply involved in Bob's Burgers across the board. They're not just members of the writing team. And that is, of course, a Fox property, as is the Molyneux sisters' other upcoming show, also animated The Great North. So that's a nice bit of synergy right there. They also fit with Feige's new efforts to diversify the MCU, especially behind the camera. And it's tricky to do that because, you know, there weren't a lot of opportunities for different types of people just recently, because, you know, the change is happening right now. So there's a lack of work to point to so that we know that they can execute their new tasks, right? But we'll never know unless we try. So I hope that, you know, so the stress now, so Kevin Feige did his job. He's hiring these exciting people, and now it lands on them to deliver in their new roles. Like the Captain Marvel directors didn't deliver, so that was unfortunate. But the movie still made $1 billion, so, but they're not coming back either, because Kevin Feige realized that was weak. But anyway, are they funny? So we don't know. I mean, with a writing team for a show, I mean, I think Bob's Burgers is pretty good. Do I think it's like Deadpool movie level funny? I personally don't think so, but maybe there are some Bob's Burgers fans out there who'd like to argue the point with me. But when it comes to funny, I think Ryan Reynolds is the greatest safety net anyone could possibly have, and he'll certainly go back in there and fiddle with what he needs to fiddle with. And also, the Deadline pointed out that he helped pick the Molyneux sisters, and I think Ryan Reynolds has proven to be an incredibly savvy business person. So I not only trust Kevin Feige, but I trust Reynolds as well. Also, the Molyneux sisters seem to focus on family comedy, and a team is like a family, right? Or maybe Deadpool will suddenly find himself with a family. We'll see what other changes Feige has in store for Deadpool now that he's part of the MCU. It seems to be a pretty clear break from the previous two films. I particularly like the second film, although I know many preferred the first and didn't care for the second. How do you feel? I think Deadpool's such a great character that, you know, it serves him very well that you could change everything around him and it would be just fine. He is just the only constant that you need. I'm very curious to see who they pick to end up directing Deadpool 3. That'll be a very key hire. And if Ryan Reynolds gets any MCU toys to play with. How can Tom Holland's Spider-Man not have a cameo? Although that gets tricky. It's like you have a Disney Fox property with a Sony Marvel character in it. That's how big Marvel is. They just span multiple studios. But speaking of how big Marvel is, Feige doled out his riches, as I said, fairly to the trades and gave The Hollywood Reporter the rundown of his upcoming production slate, with Atlanta as the main hub. Now, in that Hollywood Reporter article, they said that Marvel wouldn't comment on some of the things they were reporting. That's because it's not an official release. But, when you get these big info dumps to the trades, someone at the office called them up and said, here's a story for you. Especially when they can say it's an exclusive because they know they're the only one who has it because it was specifically given to them. So Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are still being completed after forced breaks, again, due to the pandemic. Ms. Marvel is currently filming in Atlanta. We know. We've seen the pictures. As are Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2. As I said, busy, but it gets even more so because in 2021, right away in January, Thor: Love and Thunder will roll cameras down under, although most of the cast is already on site to prep, including Vin Diesel. If he just does a voice, why does he need to be on set? Interesting indeed. I told you, it's been reported that Chris Pratt is returning for Thor: Love and Thunder, but I've told you that my sources tell me that Guardians of the Galaxy as a whole will be featured in the film with specific attention not just to Chris Pratt's Star-Lord, but also Groot and Rocket Raccoon. I wonder if Vin Diesel will personally appear in the movie. Maybe some magic spell gets cast on Groot and he becomes a human. Maybe Vin Diesel will play another character. It could be really, really interesting. And it would be very nice for Vin Diesel after having his reputation run through the shredder by Dwayne Johnson. Nothing repairs a reputation like becoming part of Marvel. At least Angelina Jolie hopes so. That's why she, of course, joined the Eternals. Now, they're describing Thor: Love and Thunder as another Avengers-level movie like Civil War was, although my only concern there, I don't know why it's called Love and Thunder anymore. I guess it's just a giant love fest, but I thought this was going to be about Natalie Portman's Jane Foster as Thor and focus on her cancer storyline, and I think that they would really step in it public relations-wise if they were to shortchange that. Taika Waititi's pretty shrewd, though, but I don't know. It seems like a lot. We'll see, though. He did just win an Oscar for screenwriting, so he should be able to pull this off. He has to include the cancer storyline, and I believe it's been alluded to that he will. Again, it would be a disaster public relations-wise if he didn't. She-Hulk and Moon Knight are said to be filming beginning in March. Tatiana Maslany better decide if she's She-Hulk or not. Oscar Isaac's deal isn't closed either, but they're not shooting until March, so they have some time there. Black Panther will shoot in July, starting in July, a 6-month shoot. That's incredibly long. I don't know if they're building in potential COVID breaks there, but that's a really long shoot. Movies typically shoot for 3 months. 6 months, it must be quite an ambitious project. Ant-Man 3 is also supposed to shoot in 2021, no start date specified, no month. And then the year is supposed to end with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 rolling camera with James Gunn back at Marvel himself. And then Feige said, it's rumored that he's meeting with writers for Blade. That's a crazy amount of production, not just for a single year, but for a single franchise. If Feige can maintain quality across the board, he has had a year, by the way, to get all the scripts in order. That's something else that happened in Hollywood during the pandemic. Everyone decided since they were stuck at home, they might as well write like crazy. So now they're going to make all those projects. So after a year, all these scripts should be in excellent shape. Although, of course, Ryan Coogler was thrown a tragic curveball with the surprise passing of Chadwick Boseman. We'll talk about Black Panther 2 in just a moment. But if Feige can maintain quality across the board, big screen to small, this will be another very bright feather in his cap. It does seem that Secret Invasion will be delayed, though. Nia DaCosta has been hired to direct Captain Marvel 2, coming off of the Candyman film. Jordan Peele, why don't you want to do Blade? But anyway, that clearly isn't going to go into production in 2021, nor will the Nick Fury Disney Plus show that I've reported to you will actually be a lead-up to that Secret Invasion movie. Hopefully we'll get some teases in WandaVision with Monica Rambeau and in Ms. Marvel with Kamala Khan, characters that are both a part of Captain Marvel's Vertical. And interestingly enough, the adult version of Monica Rambeau will be introduced without Carol Danvers anywhere in sight. Very unusual. These characters usually pop up first in these main characters' movies and then get spun off. So that's a little bit of a blow to Brie Larson's Carol Danvers, who I've come to love. I think she's charming. She's quirky and charming. I think she's really done a nice job with the role. I thought that she was great at the end of Endgame. Brought tears to my eyes, literally, when she broke through as like an Omega level threat and took out Thanos' ship. I thought that was so great. It was really cool. It reminded me of that moment, which also made me cry in Monsters vs. Alien, when Reese Witherspoon's Ginormica saved the day. Also flying in from space, interestingly enough. I like it when ladies fly in from space. Yay, team. All right, so anyway, there's also no mention of Hawkeye filming, right? Even though Jeremy Renner has said that he's getting into shape. Maybe he's going to pop up in one of these other projects, it would seem. You know, there's no more real solo movies anymore, as we've been discussing. The MCU is just too busy and too many characters are waiting to get back in there, and so they pop up in other people's projects. Back to Black Panther 2. The Hollywood Reporter specifically name-checked Lupita Nyong'o, Angela Bassett, Winston Duke, and Letitia Wright to return, and said that they are also hearing that Letitia Wright's role as Shuri will be more prominent. That's expected, considering that Shuri takes on the mantle of Black Panther in the comics after T'Challa is injured. But many fans feel it would be unforgivable to lose a strong black male character in the MCU, hey, in all of Hollywood. And so this actually set off a little bit of a Twitter storm on Friday when this article debuted. You guys are gonna, here's the obvious fix, which I'm hearing. All right, so Ryan Coogler's first Black Panther film focused on how important black women are to the black community, which I think is totally true. So it's pretty obvious that Shuri becoming Black Panther would play into that. And since Coogler put that element in his first film, he obviously would be open to exploring that, now that the opportunity has unfortunately presented itself. However, I think that I'm sure he also agrees, as anyone would, that it would be unfortunate to lose such strong representation for the black male community in a property as important as Black Panther. So as I reported to you, I'm hearing there will be 2 Black Panthers, and my guess is that the male Black Panther will be Winston Dukes M'Baku, who they name-checked in the article is returning. He did challenge T'Challa for the mantle in the first film. I think he and Shuri would make a fantastic combination. I think that 2 of them together would probably, she's very much brains and being able to be reserved, while I think M'Baku is a little bit like a fun Thor character. I love his bravado. Oh, he's so good. And I think I saw some people say, well, how would this just not look like Power Rangers? But look how great Tony and Pepper looked in their Iron Man suits. I think Shuri and M'Baku would look great as a male and female Black Panther. Duke and Wright are also both incredibly talented and charismatic, and I have no idea how anyone could have a problem with this, quite frankly. And it would make sense that it would take 2 of them to replace T'Challa, since they'd both be having to learn. I think it would be great, and it would show the strength of community and relying on each other. I just think it's beautiful. As for Chadwick Boseman, I've heard now from 2 sources that Marvel is working on that digital double. Not for full dialogue scenes, like, say, Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, which is what I believe Marvel's Victoria Alonso was referring to when she said they would not be replacing Chadwick Boseman with a digital actor. Instead, I've heard that Weta is creating a digital double to use in a battle sequence who would be able to take his mask off. He likely won't have any dialogue because Boseman would no longer be around, is obviously no longer around to record it. But this does give Ryan Coogler options for how to continue his story. I think it's a difficult choice to end the character off screen or to have, I know some of you want to see T'Challa recast, but I think that would be the worst thing that you could do. I think that would be very disrespectful to Chadwick Boseman's memory to see anyone trying to play that character after him. It's a suit, and in comics, different people wear the suit all the time. And I know that it would be like, well, what are you going to do? Replace Bruce Wayne? But I think that maybe someday they could have a new T'Challa, but I think it's just too fresh. That to me would be what would be offensive. And M'Baku's right there. And how could you? And I think people would get very upset if you didn't honor the way that the mantle was passed to Shuri in the comics. Someone's going to be upset no matter what, basically, is the situation. So I think that the comic book legacy is a very good support for Ryan Coogler to have his backup, to show that he made the right call. And I think it's organic to have M'Baku in there as well. But, we'll see what he decides to do. And this digital double gives Ryan Coogler options. But I thought the send-off for Paul Walker at the end of Furious 7 was beautiful and poignant. It was incredible. And he even had dialogue in that scene. So I'm just trying to make the point that it can be done very tastefully. And Ryan Coogler is such a talented filmmaker and was so close to Chadwick Boseman in real life. I am sure that no matter what he does, it will be incredibly appropriate and beautiful. So, I think that by the time Black Panther 2 comes out, more time will have passed, obviously. And I think you have to wonder what is right, what's not only right to do by Boseman, but what's right to do by the character of T'Challa. Doesn't he maybe deserve a big screen send-off that you see, right? I mean, it's a tough call. I'm sure that Coogler has really been wrestling with it. But again, as I said, I think he's an incredibly talented filmmaker, and I have no doubt that he'll make the right choice. So, what do you think of these latest developments? What do you think? What do you think of the things that aren't moving forward that some of you suspected, like Secret Invasion and Hawkeye? And what do you think of how busy Marvel is? Do you think that they can possibly pull this off? When will they release all of this? Is 2022 going to be like the biggest, most crowded Marvel property year of all time? Share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.